and that is Playing With Myself by Rainbow. I did this every single time I say his name wrong. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with an original tag that's coming back. When I started my channel, however many years ago that was at this point, I did a really early on, like one of my very first videos, I created an original tag, which was called the Favorites Right Now tag. And the idea behind this was that it was going to be like my favorites always change. So depending on when you ask me, like within a year, my favorites are going to be a little bit different. And so it was going to be one that I could bring back. And I haven't brought it back in quite a few years, so I revamped it. I redid a couple of the questions that don't really apply anymore, and I decided to do it again for you guys. So here's my like favorites right now 2.0. So as always, let me know what some of your answers are down below. If you are kind of playing along, I would love to know some of your favorites right now. But there are about 14-ish questions, so let's just dive in. So the very first question is, what is your favorite book that you are currently reading? So if you're like me and you read multiple books at once, then this would be pretty hard maybe for you. For me, I'm currently reading 3 things, and I'm about to add a 4th one because I'm going to start a buddy read here soon. But I was having a difficult time picking between 2 of them. So the 2 that I'm debating between are, I'm currently in the middle of War, which is A Court of Rings and Ruin, which is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series, and then A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, which is the 2nd book in this series, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So these 2 I'm loving right now, and I think I'm leaning towards Kingdom of Flesh and Fire only because this is a reread and I've already read it, so it's not like I feel like that's cheating if I chose that one, you know? And I'm actively reading this one the most right now, so I think I'm gonna say this one. I'm not far into it, I'm like less than 100 pages in, but I'm very much enjoying it. This is just a book that I've had on my TBR for God knows how long, so I'm gonna say this one because the other one's a reread. But this is the 2nd book, like I mentioned, in the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is a series that follows a girl named Poppy, who is the maiden. And basically what that means is that she is going to ascend to the gods. She doesn't really know what that means. We as the readers don't really know what that means. But it's something that's going to happen in this world. But because of that, she is protected. Her face is covered so no one can see her. She is kind of like hidden away. She doesn't have a lot of freedom. She can't really do many things. She's not supposed to have like certain types of emotions, things like that. And the plot really gets started when she gets a new bodyguard named Hawk. And this is just the 2nd book where it stems from that, and I am loving it. So this is my current read. That is the one that I am just like, I can't wait to just keep diving back into it. The next one is your favorite nonfiction at the moment. And this is one that I read at the end of last year. And I was kind of looking at my nonfiction shelf and what I was really interested in. And this is the one that kind of like stuck out the most. And that is Playing With Myself. And this is by Randy Rainbow. This is a memoir that he wrote that came out, I think, near the end of last year. I personally did it via audiobook, which I highly recommend because obviously Randy does his own audiobook. I love when they do that. His writing is really, really humorous, so because he's doing his own writing, it just lends this level of humor that I really appreciate. But Randy Rainbow is here on YouTube, actually. I'm sure many people know who he is. He kind of got started on YouTube, and I think has got podcasts now and has done many different things. But he's kind of like a musical theater person who does parody songs, primarily Broadway songs, based on the current media affairs. And he just does like some green screen, and like I just think that his editing is amazing. But he's really, really funny, and this is a story about how he kind of got to do that, and how he, you know, he was the stereotypical struggling actor who came to New York City, and how he went from that to basically doing what he's doing now, which is online content creating. So I loved it. I think he's really, really funny, and this is definitely right now my favorite nonfiction. The next one is your favorite fantasy book, or just one that you are most looking forward to reading. So this is a series that kind of works for both because I've read the first 2 books, and that is the Fortuna Sworn series. I have the first 4 here. I have read the first 2, which is Fortuna Sworn and Restless Slumber. And then as of right now, there are 2 more. We have Deadly Dreams and Beautiful Nightmares. The 5th one's coming out later this year, and the 6th and final book is coming out next year. But I'm gonna say this one just because I am obsessed with Fortuna Sworn. I went into this book not really knowing what to expect. I thought I was going to enjoy it just because of the things it has been compared to, the people that I know have talked about it and loved it. Also love a lot of the fantasy romance things that I enjoy, so I figured I would enjoy. I'm not sure if I knew I was going to like fall head over heels in love with it, but I knew I was definitely going to enjoy it in some way, and it has taken over my life. I know I keep saying that, but like this and another fantasy romance series has like, that's what I keep talking about right now. But I love this. This is definitely harder hitting as far as like some of the themes and stuff that these books cover. So if you are interested in these, I would highly recommend looking into the content warnings. Kate Sutton does keep a list of them at the beginning of all of her books. So if you ever are curious, feel free to, I think you can look at the first like chapter on Amazon if you want to see trigger warnings and things like that. So just be wary of those. But I love it. It's a fae romance that follows our main character Fortuna, who is a nightmare, and basically that just means that she has the ability to bring out people's worst fears. So she can touch someone, even if it's just like a brush walking by, and can immediately know what this person's biggest fear is and use that in some way. Like she can mostly, in illusions, she can make illusions appear for that person. And so at the beginning of this book, her brother has been missing for 2 years, and everyone is convinced that he is dead, but she is not. She's like, no, there's more to this. And a fae shows up at the beginning of this book and tells her that he knows what happened, where her brother is, what's going on with him, can take her to him, but she has to marry him. And so she does, and it just kind of spirals. And then the second book, even more so, and I'm terrified and yet very excited for the rest of the series because like, they just keep getting bigger. And have you seen the 4th one? This is like a chunk, and I'm sure the 5th one's going to be probably close to this size. And I'm genuinely scared, but also I love this series so much that I can't wait to continue. But this is my answer. This is my favorite right now. The next one is your favorite contemporary, and I feel like this should not be a surprise because I have raved about this since I read it last year, and that is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I freaking love this book. I think everyone should read it. I think it's an amazing story. I think it is a romance, but it's not like, that's not the main point of it, I guess. Like there's much more to it. But this book follows 3 main characters. We have Siobhan, we have Miranda, and we have Jane. And this book kind of flips back and forth from all 3 of their perspectives, and they all are dating this guy named Joseph Carter, and they all get set up on Valentine's Day, and that's how the story starts. Now, they don't all know that they are dating the same person. Each of them know him by a different name. One of them calls him Joe, one of them calls him Carter, I think one of them calls him Joseph. I think each of them refer to him in a different way, so it doesn't click quite that they are all dating the same person, and it's their progression and him trying to make up for missing Valentine's Day in their 3 relationships. This sounds bad. It sounds like it's a book about cheating, but it's not. There's so much more to it than that, and I know I say that every time because I know that cheating is definitely one of those big kind of like trigger words that people are like, ooh, I don't want to read a book about that. But like that's not what this book is about, and that's why I want to like highlight that so that people will actually give this book a chance, because I'm like you, if the cheating is involved, I really don't want to read it, but this book is so different and I love it, and I want to keep reading things by Beth O'Leary now. Like I've got I think I've got all her books now that she has written, I think. So I'm now obsessed with her as a person, and I just want everyone to read her, okay? She's great. But this is definitely my favorite contemporary, and I will not stop raving about it. Everyone should read it. The next one is your favorite historical romance. So this one, in true Kelsey fashion, I could not choose because there's one that I think is very clearly one that I've talked about for a long time, and then there's one that's new, like a newer one, and I haven't stopped thinking about it, which is why I think that both of these are going to work. The first one is Never Suit Us to Scott by Maya Banks. I love this book. I talk about it all the time. It's a Scottish Highland romance where our main female lead is deaf. And so it's got that representation in a historical setting, and I love it. It follows 2 rival clans who the king basically makes the laird of one clan marry the daughter of the other laird so that they will stop fighting. And it's about clan rivalry, and it's also about her coming to a new place with people who she is sure are gonna hate her, and a husband who they all don't know that she's deaf. They all just think that there's a little something going on, maybe that's not 100%, and it's her coming into her own. But I loved this book. Like, I seriously will go back and, like, when I bought this book, because I finally did purchase it from my used bookstore like about a year ago, and I went through to tab it, I ended up rereading like most of this book. So I swear by this book. And then the other one is The Ranger, and this is by Monica McCarty. This is the third book in the Highland Guard series, and this is a like forbidden romance sort of story. This is a series that follows basically this secret Highland Guard, and each book follows somebody in this guard. And the Ranger, or Arthur, he has like this ability to sense stuff that's about to happen. So he's just really observant, to the point of people kind of see it as a superpower almost. So he is sent to an enemy camp that he learns is actually the guy who killed his father. And so he is there basically to collect intel, but then he falls for one of the daughters of like his arch nemesis. And it's that whole like forbidden love where he like wants her so badly, but like is forcing himself to stay away because of whatever circumstance they're in. And I just think that they are the sweetest, and they have some of the sweetest moments. So these are my two favorites right now. I feel like Never Seduce a Scot is one that I will always talk about, so like this one's probably not a surprise, but The Ranger is one that I cannot stop thinking about. So yeah, these two are definitely my favorites right now. The next one is a favorite manga or graphic novel. So this is a newer of the questions for this time around, because I hadn't really gotten into graphic novels, let alone mangas yet. So this is one that was hard for me because I feel like I've kind of been picking and choosing here and there for like what is the stuff that I've really been enjoying. But I think a very obvious answer, now that I've kind of had to think, is the Descender series, which is by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. So this is just the first volume. There are 6 volumes, and then there are 4 volumes in kind of a branch off that's called Ascender. I only have 1 right now, but I need to get the rest and read that. But this is a series that follows this little robot boy named Tim, and he is from a line of kind of companion bots, and the idea of them is exactly that. They are companions to somebody in some way, and he is a companion to a young boy that's his age. And so the story starts with this big like mass robot revolution of sorts where they just kind of show up and start firing at a bunch of different planets. And then 10 years goes by, and Tim has kind of been not put under, but you know, like he's not been active. He's kind of been asleep this whole time, and he kind of wakes up. Something in his code resonates with the code that was in these big bots. And so there are different types of people who are after him. Some want him because they're scrappers and they just kind of want to get rid of him because he's a robot. Some want him for this code. Some are trying to protect him from the people who want him for this code. So there's a lot going on. But something about the story just kind of like grabbed me. It's got a found family vibe with like the group of people that we really come to know in the first one. And it just kind of spirals from here, and there's a lot that goes down, and you kind of, once you're done with it, you're gonna want the Ascender volumes because it ends abruptly, and I have still so many questions. But this is a series that I read. Like, I know they're graphic novels and you can get through them really quickly, but I read them in the course of like a few months, which is unheard of for me. I am not good at like keeping up with things. So the fact that I was able to read all of these in such quick succession, I feel like says something. So this is definitely my favorite right now. I love it. It's a beautiful sci-fi. I will rave about it for a long time yet. So this is my answer. So the next question is about your favorite series. And I feel like this one is, again, not a surprise because I've raved about it so much, and that is the Kingdom of the Wicked series, being the Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and then the third one, which I don't have yet, is Kingdom of the Feared. So this series is one that I had the first one. I picked it up from my used bookstore because it was part of a Patreon book club, and I was like, I'll just give it a shot, thinking literally nothing of it. I thought it was going to be like a fun time, like I was going to enjoy my time reading it, but it was just going to be like every other YA fantasy, and I was going to move on. Was I wrong? Because I fell head over heels in love with these characters to the point that I immediately read the second one, I think right after finishing this one. Maybe there's one book in between, but it was relatively soon after. And then I read the third one the month after. I have not gone through a series that quickly since I think ACOTAR. So I swear by this series. It's so much fun. And I love it so much. It's fantastic fantasy romance. I got my aunt-in-law to like really invest in it, and now she's obsessed with it like I am, and we send each other books that remind us of this series because we were both so taken with this series. I love it. So this one follows our main character Amelia, who the story kind of starts off, it's in this like Italian inspired community. They are witches, so they have all these magical powers and abilities, and her twin sister Vittoria gets murdered at the beginning of the book in a very, very brutal way. And so she is grieving, and her way of grieving is to figure out who did it. And it's in the string of murderers who are very, very similar to how this happened. And so she's trying to figure out the connection here. And in doing so, she ends up teaming up with this guy named Wrath, who is one of the 7 princes of hell. So he's basically like a demon. And they team up to try to figure out what's going on. It spirals. The first book is definitely YA, and then we take a hard left into new adult real fast. So just be warned if you're going in thinking this is going to be more of a cleaner story, because the first one is, the second one is not. But I loved the murder mystery element in the first book, which really got the plot going, and then after that there is a mystery that is continuing throughout the rest of the series. And I loved each book giving us enough information to be like, I'm happy with this information, but I still want more, you know? So I loved it. It's only a trilogy, so it's really easy to get through. I will not stop raving about it. So if you haven't read it yet, and you are like me and you like some of the books that I have liked, please do yourself a favor and give this a try, because it has changed my life. Like, that sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. The next question is the most exciting book that you have bought so far this year, that you actually have read. So this is one that in true Kelsey fashion is hard to do, because I'm really good at purchasing books and then waiting like multiple years before getting to them. However, I bought this book earlier this year and then immediately like read it relatively soon afterwards, and that is Jewels of the Sun by Nora Roberts. This is the first in her Gallagher's and Ardmore trilogy, so I do have the entire trilogy. I read this for my video series that I'm doing, the 12 books in 12 months that are recommended by you guys. This was in the first installment, and I just loved it. It's a really fun contemporary romance that takes place in Ireland, and it's a story of fairy tales. It's a story of a woman kind of discovering who she is and what she wants out of life, because she's been doing one thing her whole life. She has been a professor and is deciding that is maybe not what she wants to do. She goes to this small town that her, I think, great-grandmother grew up in, and so there's a little house there that they own, her family owns, and so she goes there, and she does this telling herself that she's going to write a thesis about myth and legend in this kind of area of the world, and she runs into a guy who owns a pub named Aiden, and he is an amazing storyteller and kind of helps her out by telling her all these different stories of the different legends that are around where she lives, and it's the two of them, and I loved it. It's so fun. It got 5 stars. I can't wait to dive into other things by Nora Roberts and other things in this series. I just finished an entire series by Nora Roberts in my Simplify My series, in my second episode of that. So like, this might be the year of Nora Roberts. I'm not going to lie. But I bought this earlier this year and loved it. Now we're getting into some of the less like book specific questions. So the next one is your favorite bookmark right now. If you're like me, you have 10,000 different bookmarks. So I switch back and forth, but right now it's this one, which is actually from Becca and the Books. I got it off of her Canada website because she does bookmarks for her Patreons every single month, but I am not in that tier, so when she has extras, she sells them. And this one says, if he ain't Faye, he ain't Bae. So I really enjoy this one. It's fun, it's floral, which I do love, and I just think that kind of like tagline is really humorous. It's currently in my ACOWAR book, which is why I had to grab that. But I have a lot of really beautiful ones that I've gotten from G as well. So I switch back and forth, but right now that's the one that's winning. And I think it's the mixture of just the quote, or not quote, but like the saying on it is funny, but also all of the florals make me really happy. The next one is your favorite spot / situation, whatever, for reading in. So this one is usually this chair back here. I usually sit there and enjoy that. But with summer happening, I think my new favorite spot is going to be our back porch, which I can't really show you because they're literally redoing it. So, they're going to redo it because all of the wood was kind of falling apart. But once that's redone, I could just see myself wanting to sit out there all the time. We haven't used it in the past because said wood was not great. So I'm really excited now that it's kind of been redone, and I just that's going to be a new favorite spot. I can sit outside, have some iced coffee, which it's also the season for iced coffee. So I'm very excited about all of that. And that's going to be my new favorite spot. I just know it's going to be. The next question is your favorite book adaptation, whether that is into a movie or a TV show right now. I think for me right now, my favorite one, I don't watch a whole lot, weirdly enough, but the one that I am really liking right now is one that came out last year, and that is Heartstopper. I loved this graphic novel series. I loved the first season. I think they did an amazing job, and the fact that they have at least 2 more planned for this makes me really excited. I don't know when we're going to see another season, but I loved this. I thought this adaptation was very well done. True to the narrative while also being different, because you kind of have to be when it's in a different medium like that. So I loved it. I just really loved it. So that's my favorite right now. And it's been like, I remember watching this over the course of like 2 days, like late into the night, sometime last year. So it wasn't like a new one, but I still loved it. It's still my favorite. The next one is your favorite nerdy book item, whatever, based on a fandom. So I weirdly enough don't have a lot. I think it's very clear that like candles are pretty much my go-to. But then I saw these and I remembered I had them. So these are definitely going to be coming out. And they're these coaster sets that I got from a fairy loot, I want to say in the fall. And they are 4 different plants. We have belladonna, foxglove, hellebore, and nightshade. And these are all, I believe, poisonous plants. And I believe it came in the same box that we got the book Belladonna in. So I believe that these are based on those. And I just think that they're so beautiful and they feel like spring, even though they're kind of like poisonous plants and stuff. So these are going to come out during the summer, but that's what I would say my favorite thing is right now. But I feel like I don't have as many fandom items as I used to, or like things, like I don't have a lot of replicas or anything like that. So this is my answer. The next one is your favorite book accessory right now. And this is one that I got for Christmas, and that is this little book stamp set. This is the actual ink in here, and this is the stamp. So I didn't put it in a book, so I'll show you that in a second. But this came from one of my really close friends, and it says from the Library of Kelsey right there on the bottom. So it's literally like a book stamp that you can put in books. Don't worry, guys. I have right there. Isn't that beautiful? I'm obsessed with it. So I haven't been doing a whole lot. Clearly my Crescent City copy is one of the ones that I have, but these are books that like I want to hold on to forever, and I don't see myself not being obsessed with Sarah J. Maas in the future. So that's my favorite book accessory right now. I need to go through my library and actually start using it, because I literally only put it on a couple of things that I knew I was going to hold on to, and there's many other books that I know that I'm going to hold on to, and I just need to actually do it. But that's it. That's my little stamp, and I love it. I love that like the picture has like flowers coming out of a book, because that's very me as well. But yeah, that's my favorite book. That's my favorite accessory right now, and I'm obsessed with it. And the last thing is your favorite piece of bookish inspired art. And this is not a new inspired art by any stretch of the imagination. It actually came out quite a few years ago. It's based on the Cruel Prince series. So I got it when I got, I think, special editions of all of those, because if I remember correctly, the first one was an Owl Crate book, so I believe I got all 3 of them as like special Owl Crate editions, so they matched. And I believe when the 3rd book, Queen of Nothing, came out, I got this print, which is just absolutely beautiful. It is Jude and Carden. Look how like sparkly and shiny that is. And I just think that they are absolutely beautiful. So that is definitely one of my favorite pieces of bookish art that I do not have on display because I literally don't know how to do that. One of these days, I'm going to own my own house and I'm going to have an entire book art wall, and I can put things like this up there because there are definitely some pieces of bookish art that are in books that I would love to show off, and this is definitely one of them. I just think that that is beautiful. All the colors and like the art itself is just so well done. So that is my favorite right now, but I've had that one for quite a few years. And that's it. That is a look at my favorites right now. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if you would like to do this tag yourself, I will leave all the questions down below. Let me know you're doing it. I would love to know all of your answers. But if you don't want to do one yourself, feel free to answer some of the questions down below. If there's anything that resonated with you, whether it was bookish related as in like an art print or something like that, or if your favorite book that you're reading right now, let me know all of your thoughts down below. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!